because it's not working. I don't want to end up not having a recording on YouTube for it. But all right, so let's talk about War Game Wednesday. So I want to talk about the 7 brutal truths, okay, of good leadership. So we're talking, what are we trying to talk about? You guys all have to lead yourself because you have your own business or you're in sales in some capacity. So if you're going to be there and you're going to have to be responsible for yourself, leadership has to come from you. If you're looking too much for leadership from other people, you're going to end up being let down more often than you're going to be pleased. So when I look at that, the first thing I want to talk about, now I've done this before where I've gone into businesses and sat down and had to take over an existing staff of people. And when I sit down in this room of people that are all scared because they don't know if everybody's going to get blown out, who's going to stay, who's going to do whatever's there, right? The same thing happens to you every day you walk into your business. You walk into your business, you get to your desk, you sit down, you go, oh crap, I don't know if this is going to be good. Is this going to be a bad day? Is this going to be something? But the first thing that the leader is responsible for doing, as far as good leadership is concerned, is to pump the fear out of the room. Okay, the answer is, how do you get your head out of being scared of something as opposed to being focused on a more positive goal and something that you can reach out to and obtain yourself? So the first thing we got to do is actually pump the fear out of the room. How would we go about pumping the fear out of this room? We need to sit down and start picking a topic that is not volatile. Okay, that's the first thing. If you go grab the largest elephant in the room, the whole room and the meeting's going to go off track. If you sit down and go, okay, I'm broke and I have rent due in an hour, right? Then you're going to be focused on the wrong thing and you're going to stick in the fear as opposed to looking at something easy that you can do. One of the things I like to do is I like to create a list. I'll sit down and I'll create a list of what we should be going over, but I do it with everybody here. So if you're going to sit down with yourself, the best way to stay on track is to have a track. Okay? You can't be fearful of a to-do list. You can focus on everything you're supposed to be accomplishing today, and that's what I want to be focused on, is to say, great, this is what we're going to do. Let's just start knocking things off the list. But I'll create it with everybody in the room and say, we're going to tackle 1, 2, 3, right? If I got 6 things on my list, the first 3 things. So the first half of your list has to be something easy that everybody can actually talk in agreement. And once we start checking something off, everybody decides to go, oh, wow, this is going to be easy, and we no longer focus on anything fearful. But little successes along the way take the fear out of what it is you're doing or what you're trying to accomplish. My first to-do on any to-do list I create is make a to-do list. So the second I create it, I can go check that first box off, get the little dopamine hit in my brain and go, okay, great, let's go to the next thing and how we're going to get it. You can set little goals all day, like open the car door. So when you do it, you're like, yes, I did it. But I want to stick focus on doing that. So you guys should start each day with your list of what you're supposed to do. The best thing you could do is create the list the night before. If you create the list the night before, it frees up your brain overnight. Have you ever thought, oh, I can't forget about this. I got to make sure that I do this tomorrow. Make sure I do this tomorrow. And then you end up dreaming about it or not resting because your brain's like, oh, don't forget it. Don't forget it. Don't forget it. Where you can actually have a better sleep if you were to create the list for tomorrow of the things you need to remember to do. So that way you have that list when you wake up, but your unconscious gets a chance to take a break instead of trying to remember it and put it in there. The second thing we got to do as far as the brutal truth is that if you are a leader, okay, you have to be trusted by the team. Okay, if you're not trusted by the team, we're not going to go anywhere. Now, this is brutal when you stop and look at it and say, you are your own leader, right? Do you trust yourself? And if you have to ask yourself, I mean, stop it, just do it for a second right now and say, how many times did you start a diet and fail, right? Told yourself you were going to do it. How many times did you say, I'm making $1 million this year and not achieve it, right? How many times did you say, I'm going to start getting up early every day and I'll be up doing this, or I'm going to start a walk. I'll start to do something. It's either anything that requires a change in discipline, right? Mo doesn't have this part because he lifts heavy shit all the time, right? But when you look at this, are you actually giving yourself a reason to trust yourself? And quite often we don't trust ourselves because we've let ourselves down too often. Right? If the person who's in charge of your office or in charge of your team comes in and says, we're going to do this on Friday, and then you don't do it on Friday, right? The next time they walk in and go, guess what we're doing on Wednesday? You're like, you're going to give us another excuse on Wednesday why we can't do it or why it's not going to be there. So you need to focus at that point on how can you get yourself to be trusted. The easiest thing is make commitments and stick to it. It's amazing how much easier it is to keep your word with somebody else as it is to you. And now what I'm saying is that you need to start treating, so don't make the promise to yourself unless you plan on following through, because giving yourself lip service is an absolute waste of time and actually sends you backwards in what you're doing, because you're going to not believe yourself because of all the other lies you've told yourself. So I want to make the list, right? I want to make sure that I'm trusted and I'm going to commit to doing certain things. So you do whatever you can do to accomplish everything that you promised yourself. If it's not a promise, then don't make it. Okay. It has to be something you're going to stick with. Okay. Leaders, listen and expect brutal honesty or feedback. So as a leader, you need to be able to get the feedback. Now, several of us, we're in charge of ourselves, right? We don't have that leader that's going to push us, which means you got to find an accountability partner that's going to give you the feedback. Okay. I put things out everywhere to everybody because I want somebody to come back and tell me what I can do to improve, because I don't take it as I failed. I take it as, if there's so many times my message gets misconstrued based on the way I say it and who's listening. And so it's the same way when you see a bad advertisement. You put a bad advertisement, you're like, that's horrible. I would never buy that product. They didn't even highlight it the right way. Well, you're the product in most situations. Okay. So I will tell you, how you dress all the time is you putting out there, but nobody's going to walk up and go, damn, you look like a fool that's there, right? They can't. Why? Because that's an actual boundary they have to cross to do that. Now, if you walked up and said, okay, how does my outfit look? Be prepared for an answer. Okay. But you got to represent yourself in the best light possible. And in order to do that, on everything you're doing, you need to have a second set of eyes look at it. I have how many times have we put out like a Facebook post or an Instagram post and there's a typo in it? Okay. There's a guy in the automotive space that there's several of us that just giggle because I'm like, the boy never reads it. I don't know if he can spell, but there's words that are missing and he is posting 10, 12, 15 times a day. And it became a game. And I go, you know what? We're all actually following this guy to see how bad it gets. Right. It's like a train wreck. And I'm like, there's no punctuation. There's two words are the same as one word and all of the stuff that's there. Okay. I have another friend of mine that no matter what is always doing the apostrophe RE for your, right? She's looking for that everywhere on every post. Okay. But again, if I write something and I write it with the wrong context, so if I put YOUR instead of apostrophe RE for UR, then I look less than professional. I look less than polished because I don't understand the parts of grammar that's there. I could be able to do a great job for you, but I've diminished myself. So I need somebody to provide me with that feedback. I need somebody that I can trust to say here. So if we're sitting on the call and you go, look, here's my advertisement. I'm at a Ford store today, right? So I'm going to put this out. Okay. So I just sat with the marketing director because they did an email very similar to this for the trucks. And I said, your Buena Park store sent me an email because I'm in your database there and about offering me a truck. And I said, and every picture on this is the truck in snow. You do know we're in California. Why are you showing me trucks in snow if odds are I'm not ever going to make it into the snow in California? And he goes, well, we're right here. Because at this store, I'm at another store that's closer. He goes, I can see the mountains from here. I said, yeah, we can drive up in the mountains all day long, but we ain't sitting in the snow anywhere. We're going to have to actually leave our state to go find the best place to go trample in the snow. You're giving me a marketing message that doesn't apply to the demographic of where we're at. It doesn't apply to this area in any way we're doing. So expect and his answer was, let me tell you why. I go, you can sit back all you want and tell me why you think it's a good thing. I'm telling you, you didn't check it right. If you had checked it and put it together, a truck that's on the beach, right, especially for their Carlsbad location, put a truck on the beach with a camper shell on the back that says you can go do this. But again, feedback's not always well received. Now I tend to give it no matter what. That's just me. I'll tell you what it is and let's deal with it on the other side of that. But again, that goes back to our first call, which was assumed rapport, right? Are you assuming you have rapport with everybody to begin with so you can operate from that point? So leaders are positive even when the shit goes down. Okay. As the leader, okay, as you owning your own system, you can't get down in the dumps. Something goes bad, you need to remain positive because that's the only way you're going to get out of whatever you're in. If you dig deep and you just bury yourself in a hole because the shit's coming down, a customer's complaining, people are yelling at you, something happened with your product and it's failing. Okay, maybe you have an online course and now it's down. I will tell you right now, I have a convention I am speaking at in Vegas on Monday. So the guy who puts on the event reached out to me and sent me a video, said, okay, all the airlines have said you can cancel your flights if you don't want to go anywhere for literally the 800 people across the United States that are somehow infected with the coronavirus. Okay, not to mention the hundreds of thousands that have died already so far this year from the flu, but we need to panic. So he's like, now people are dropping off of the list of attendees for this conference. And he's like, if you don't want to come, that's fine. And I'm like, no, I'm there. It's on my calendar. I said I was going to be there. And whoever shows up deserves to have a full event with the people that are speaking the way it is. I don't care if it's 3 people in a room. They'll get the best information possible because it'll be an intimate setting and everything's already been paid for. So again, I'm going to sit back and say, I'm going to be positive. Whoever needs to be there will be there. And we're going to go through this event and do it there. But I can't sit back and go, oh man, there's going to be less than 100 people that I'm talking to. Oh, I should feel bad and I should drop out. My answer is, look, let's be positive. We're going to get together with a bunch of great people. Even if some of the speakers don't show up, I messaged him. I sent him a video and I said, hey, if speakers aren't showing up because they're fearful for this, great, give me more time. I'm okay with it. Give me 3 people sessions and I will talk and impact the people that are there so that they feel they got something benefit from it. But I could just spiral down the hole if I wanted to and be negative and complain and do all this, but there's no point, right? As the leader, you need to remain positive. Okay. Leaders rarely, if ever, procrastinate. Okay. So if you find yourself saying, I'm going to put something off, then understand you're not representing the brutal truth of leadership. You aren't accepting a leadership role. Employees get to put things off and they'll put it off until they get in trouble. Okay. And so if we own our own stuff, it's up to us to say, look, if I need to get something done, it's going to be done. I'm going to do it this way, but I'm not going to say, let me do that tomorrow. Let me do that tomorrow. Okay, so focus on what you have to get done, which again puts us right back up to that first thing. Do you have a list of things you need to accomplish? And it's not about moving it over. The thing I hated the most, like I used to have the Franklin planner. Yes, I'm that old. Okay, it was a little handheld planner, but you used to sit there and just put an arrow next to it, which meant I'm moving it to the next day kind of deal. And as soon as I learned what that meant, it meant, damn, by the end of the week, I have all of this stuff that has to be done on a Friday because I chose to procrastinate through that. If you're going to procrastinate on anything, procrastinate on procrastination. Oh my God, that's like 2 negatives as a positive. Oh my gosh, that's like algebra and shit right there. So, right. So what I'm looking at here, so we're going through, I got another one now. So the leader itself puts very strict boundaries on themselves and the behavior that it's accepted. Okay, so as a leader, I'm going to put boundaries on what it is I can't say, what I can't do, but the boundaries are going to say I'm staying within this. And I will tell you, it goes right back to your procrastination part. That is a boundary that you have not set if you're allowing yourself to accept something other than what you need to do right now. But the boundaries are there. So I will tell you that for me, I'm not one of these people that goes out to dinner with clients. I'm not the guy that ever has an employee that we're all going out to eat afterwards. I don't do that. And the reason I don't do that is because it blurs the boundary of who the leader is versus who the friend is. And if you're in that capacity and it gets blurred, people tend to think they can go opposite of what you say because of a friendship relationship. So even when I worked as an employee, if the owner said, hey, let's go out to dinner, let's go do this, my answer was no, I'm good. I'm busy. I'll do that. I'm going to spend my free time with the people I want to spend my free time with. I'm not going to spend my time with the owner, and I'm not going to go kiss ass and see if it'll help me to keep my job if I screw up. Right. So as a leader, you have to decide exactly what is acceptable for you, and then what is acceptable for the team in which you lead. Okay. So last thing, number 7, leadership itself at the end is really truly about love. Do you love the people on your team? Okay. Because if you want the best for everybody, then holding them accountable is part of it. Okay. It's you setting those boundaries, you setting everything up and saying, I care about them enough that I will lead them to be successful. If you lead them in a capacity where you don't push them because you want to salvage a friendship or you want to keep it, fun and light in the office and nothing gets done, you end up pissing away a lot of money. You end up doing that and you don't get the results, but everybody had a good time. But I believe we all have more fun if we make more money. So turn around and put it on yourself right there and say, do you love yourself enough to hold yourself accountable for the other 6 things that were on the list? And if you don't, then we got to work on that in a different area. But overall, the answer is those are the 7 things you need to focus on to be a leader, whether you're leading a team or you're leading yourself. Okay. So that's what I wanted to put out there today. I think I went quick today. Yeah, 20 minutes. So Mo's new to the call. So typically it's 40 minutes and we're done. And so, but yeah. Yeah. So I throw it all out there and then I put it on YouTube so everybody can go back later if they need to do anything with it.
Sweet.
But
I appreciate the invite, man.
Absolutely. And you have to go pick up kids.
I do.
Throw that out there. So, all right. So I'm going to throw it out. Questions open to anybody. Anybody have a question?
Can I ask one question before I go?
Of course. Absolutely.
Okay. So I've made that mistake with, I've been on both ends of the spectrum with where the boss would take me out and we built a relationship. We actually eventually we started a business together. We did a partnership and it blew up. It went sideways, backwards, up and down.
The bad blow up. Got it.
It was a bad blow up.
Yeah.
It's a very, very bad blow up and we don't even talk now. And so I am trying to minimize that as much as I can. However, there is one guy that works for me that I see a little bit of myself in him and I feel like I'm kind of getting attached to.
Okay. So again, the boundary needs to be set. And I will tell you, for that person, the best compliment you could ever receive from somebody is somebody like Mo looks and goes, I can see myself in you, like you're the younger version of me, or there's a lot I can see that, because Mo's favorite person is Mo. Karen's is Karen's, Frank's is Frank's, right? Josiah's is Josiah. So if somebody ever gives you that compliment, then understand it's the highest form of praise they can have. Now, understand, Mo, you've already lived a lot in the experiences with the business that went sideways and all that stuff. It's okay, because when you guys blow up the good way, right, and there's financial freedom and everybody's making money without having to do the daily stuff, then the friendship can expand and you travel together. The families go out and they do all that. Yeah. But in the beginning, as the leader, you owe it to him to put him in that box he needs to be in and keep him there and what have you. So if it's just the 2 of you, then yeah, occasionally you can go out to dinner and go do that. But the second anybody sees you in a different light, right, then it's going to shift what's there. You go from mentor or boss or leader into buddy, pal, or the person who got hammered at the Christmas party, right, and made a scene and did all that. It's the thing I see the most with people is that they go, well, we're outside of work, so I can let my hair down and do it. Right. When I worked with the Joe Verdi group, at the time they were the #1 automotive sales training company. When I was there, every time you interviewed, they were like, wow, great, looks like everything's great. We're gonna get you, the HR is gonna get your paperwork together. Let's go grab some lunch. And what nobody realized was that was still part of the interview process.
Oh.
So when you went to lunch, nobody in HR was getting any paperwork. They were taking you to a situation so they can see, are you going to be stupid enough to go order wine or order a beer at lunch with your prospective new employer? Because their answer is, we can't be with you all the time. And if I can't be with you all the time, I want to know how you're going to act in public when you represent my company. And so how did you How did you treat the waitress? Right? How did you deal with the people around you in the restaurant? All of these different things, they were still judging the whole time. And so there's people that went, had a great lunch in their mind, right? Came back and had no job. Okay, because of that very reason, is because they did not actually represent themselves well. And so I represented myself well. That's why I was there for a couple of years, but I made it through that process. But I didn't even know I was on it. But I was like, I will not come out with people I just met and get stupid. Okay.
Well,
I don't drink, so that was easy, but
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know
But
that. That's cool.
yeah, but that's always a great way to get somebody, because now they think their guard drops and now you'll see the real them. Because, right. Side note, anytime I interview somebody, right, drives my wife.
Lost your audio.
Let's try it again. Audio back. Okay. Drives my wife crazy whenever I interview people, is because my interviews take so long. And I interview people for a long time because everybody has 20 minutes of bullshit or fluff that they can go through, and interviews don't last longer than that. So if you ask the same question 30 minutes into an interview, you will get a different answer, which is the real answer that comes in. And so looking at that, I always keep my interviews longer than normal, but I also don't have people that I hire that end up being bad hires.
I know a guy who will do full day interviews.
Oh, wow. I hate people. That would be stressful.
I know. It's arduous and grueling. But anyways, I appreciate it. Great to meet everybody. And thank you so much, Joe. I'll catch you next one. Thanks, bro.
All right. Thanks, Mo. Be good.
Hey, I have a question.
Yes, Miss Tottie.
Like in Mo's case, where he's starting a new thing and the guy wants to grab lunch, would you recommend that Mo just outright tell him, look, I don't intermingle business with lunch, or just I want to keep the relationship at a certain level? Would he should just go out and say that? Or
so he can say, let's go grab something really quick so we can come back to that. Let's go grab something and bring it back to the office. Right? That's something to say. But typically I do say to people, I go, look, I appreciate you and I understand we're putting this together. There's going to be times where we have to grab food because we're on a roll, but I typically don't like to go out with people that I'm working with, not for any other reason other than, again, if you're going to be working for me, I don't want to put you in the uncomfortable situation of watching me behave badly or have me see you behave badly. Right. And then they look at you and they go, okay, I can get that. Right. But you could easily just look and go, look, I don't want to mingle friendship and business relationships. Right. So that's what it is. But you can set that up very in the beginning as well. If you start dealing with somebody, you can say it up front and say, hey, look, this is what goes on. Okay. Because there's been times where vendors have taken us out to dinner. So like if you achieve a milestone and you hit something a whole bunch of times. So for you, if you have a funder that you're dealing with and they're like, hey, you guys did this, let's go out to lunch. It's a thank you lunch kind of deal. Yeah, you can do that. Right. You just have to remember your whole time that I love myself enough and I love my reputation enough that I can't misbehave. So if everybody drinks, I'm not drinking. Right. I've had people where the owner of a dealership said, I'm celebrating that we've hit a big accomplishment. Let's go out to dinner. And he takes 40 people out to dinner. Right. And at the end of the table, one of his managers is ordering 2 steak and lobsters to go separate from what he's eating because he wants to take advantage of the fact that the owner is buying. And thinking that if there's 44 meals or 43 meals, he won't notice it. But his whole team is watching him order with the waitress and tell him to put him in a to-go bag for him, right? And bring his out to the table. Again, that's the kind of leadership he's setting for the team down below. If he was sitting next to the owner at the table, he wouldn't have done that. But again, if the owner never did that, right, what the owner could have done was said, and again, I've worked at different places like this. The answer is, I will cater in food. and we will have a congratulations meal at the office. Okay, so we can commingle in the office, but there's no doubt we're in the office, which means we remain professional. That's there. But any other questions about our the brutal truths of leadership? Any of them make no sense to you and go, I don't get that, doesn't make any sense? Do we understand that we have to lead ourselves before we can lead others? So you have to be the best example of you to go forward. And then once you become the example to everybody else, then we're there. I sat with somebody the other day, they're like, oh man, you need to be my coach. You need to do this and that. And I'm like, as long as we're not talking about, fitness, we're good. And they're like, what? I said, I can handle business. I can handle sales. I can handle relationships. I said, but if you're looking for a fitness coach, you need to find somebody who's in better shape than me. It doesn't make sense to say that. Or if you need meal preps, then you jump on Josiah, who's over here doing meal preps. So I don't do that. My little cup of noodles is good enough. That's a meal prep. So, but all right, if we have no more questions, anybody else? I'll send out the link to the recording. Appreciate you all taking the time, and go sell something. Talk to you later. Bye.